So if you were to take a vote on what you think is DreamWorks' most forgettable movie, you probably might think of something like Ants or Monsters vs. Aliens. And if that's not what you're thinking of, and maybe the one that comes to your mind is probably DreamWorks Home, which was released 10 years ago today. Yeah, do you all remember this movie? It's about these aliens called the Boovs who take over Earth, not invading it, but just so they can have a home to themselves, with no harm basically. I mean, hey, if there were an alien race coming to take over Earth someday with open arms, I'll probably let them stay in my basement and just chill there. But I see some videos about how this movie is one of the most forgettable DreamWorks movie, but to me, I don't think this movie is DreamWorks' most forgettable movie. There are others that I don't even bother to remember. To me, I find it to be a mostly enjoyable watch with some fun moments and overall have a decent and creative story. And with all DreamWorks movies, this movie is also based on a book titled The True Meaning of Smek Day, which I have never heard before, but I guess it was really well received, which got made into a movie adaptation of that book, with the story and characters being almost similar. But except when I was doing some research, in the movie the main boob is named O, but in the book his name is J-Lo. So that's like the only thing that they've changed within the movie for some reason. Also, before this movie was released, they released a short that played before Misty Peabody and Sherman and Rio 2 surprisingly, titled Almost Home, which is a 40-minute prequel short that takes place before the movie, about this leader Booth named Captain Smek and his alien crew trying to attempt to find a new planet as their new home, but failed at almost every attempt. But by the end of the short, that's basically where we start the movie. Now, I'm going to talk about this movie as a whole to see if it's really that forgettable, and to see if I would recommend checking it out. So there's going to be some spoilers to this movie if you haven't seen it, but if you already have, then watch me talk about it. So yeah, after 10 years, let me take you back to what this movie was about. So the movie starts with all of the Boovs getting ready for their moving day to Earth. That's where we meet our main Boov named O, voiced by Jim Parsons. And some of you might wonder why that's his name.
Good morning.
Oh.
Hi guys.
Oh.
Hello.
Oh.
Oh.
Yeah, that explains it, I guess. So O is the most different out of the Boovs. He is the most naive and curious one out of his species. But I also see him as like a very happy-go-lucky character in my eyes. And I do like that for his character, and I think that Jim Parsons does fit the character well in my opinion. One thing I found kinda strange about this movie is that in the movie, all of the Boov changes color depending on what emotion they feel, but in the prequel short, they don't do that. Something must have changed around this movie's story that made it change like that, but honestly, I don't really mind it. It sort of gives these characters a bit more personality into it, and it just gives a cute detail to them. Anyways, we're now introduced to the leader of the Boovs, Captain Smek, who is known for running away from their enemy, the Gorg, which was the whole reason why they're going to take over Earth in the first place, so that way they can hide from the Gorg. Okay, sure. This Captain Smek guy was very amusing for the most part, but I feel like he was a bit underutilized, but he's just mostly a comic relief character, so I don't know, I'm not really asking much from him. Then we get this short montage about the Boov taking over Earth. They all take the humans and relocate all of them to Australia for some reason. One thing I kind of find funny in this montage to think about is that as the Boovs are invading Earth, they somehow don't get taken down by the SWAT or the FBI immediately. Like, these dudes just stole all of the humans and moved them to the other side of the Earth, and somehow the government is not aware that all of this is happening. I also like to add that I like how they dropped the title card in this movie. I don't know, it's simple, but it just feels very cinematic to me. Anyways, O wants to throw a housewarming party for them about coming to Earth, and gets pretty excited to have everyone over, and already know how everyone feels about him. They don't come over. Dang, I would have come over for you. Anyways, we are now introduced to our second main character named Tip, voiced by Rihanna, and it turns out that this is Rihanna's only voice role in an animated movie, for now. Even though she's in this movie, we also got some original songs by her for this movie, which are played throughout the movie, which I actually think are not bad, and I think they do fit the movie for some parts. There are other songs that played in this movie which feels a little out of place, and it kind of feels forced as a result, but then again, I don't really mind it. And I also think that Rihanna is actually good in this movie. Not great, but I think it fits the character and the personality that she's given. Anyway, she's the only human that didn't get taken by the Boov, because later in the movie it shows that as the Boovs were taking the humans, they have like this tractor beam that they can take the humans, But since her cat was on top of her head, and the booth tracks it mistaking it as not as a human, so that explains why they didn't take her. So she escapes from the booth that enters her house, and then leaves to try to find her mom, which got taken by the booth, so that happens. Later, O finds this other booth named Kyle. He wanted to invite him because he thinks that they're friends, and by doing so, he accidentally sent an invite to the whole galaxy, and by the whole galaxy, meaning their enemy. So O gets in trouble and then runs away. And as he runs away, his plan is to hide from all booths in the continent in Antarctica. But the ship fails him immediately, so O ends up at 7-Eleven, and shortly after he meets Tip. This movie's pacing is going by really fast, and all of these scenes that I just mentioned probably went by in under 3 minutes. Not that the movie's pacing is bad, it's just something I've noticed while rewatching this movie again for this video. Anyways, I love this interaction that O and Tip have in this scene. In fact, I like all of the scenes with them together. They just have a really cute dynamic that I really like about the film. And another thing that I liked while I was making this video is to look at these fun moments between Jim Parsons and Rihanna while promoting the film back in 2015. Despite how you feel about the casting in the film, I just can't help but to be very amused with their friendship.
Skill or talent would you like to learn?
To whistle.
I can't either.
Really?
I can't. I'm very surprised a musician can't.
I feel so much better.
So do I.
What?
Anyways, O fixes Tip's car, but mistakenly made it into a hover car. They both run away from the booths together, while Tip is off to find her mom and while O is just wanting to hide from the booths. I also find this bit funny.
Antarctica.
Oh, hey!
What are you doing?
How did that happen?
Some moments go by, and it turns out that Kyle has been tracking them, but later caught them at a gas station. So they both got out of there in a rush. I actually like the design of this hover car. That's one of the aspects that I like about this movie. This movie does have some creative themes in it that I liked, with the booth's inventions with how their main technology is mostly used with bubbles. I think that adds a cute detail with this movie's creativity. But now that I think about it, did they also do the same thing with the book? I've never read it, but I can assume that also happens in the book as well. Anyways, we're now on to another bonding scene with Tip and O. And this is a scene that I really like. It's really cute on how O discovers actual music and his body reacting to the beat, playing Dancing in the Dark by Rihanna. Huh, how ironic is that? Then O freaks out and just dips into the ocean and leaves Tip there for who knows how long. He comes back after a long time. I always wonder how he did not drown. I guess the booths has a really great breathing technique when they go underwater, I don't know. Then O understands Tip on how she feels without being with her mom. But he can't relate to that because their species don't have families, so Tip understands why the booths did what they did. It makes O more understanding of the planet and understands more of the humans' emotions. I just really like that, and it gives him growth as a character. So shortly after, they both made it to Paris, which is where the main booth's headquarters are for some reason, so that way they can stop the invitation from reaching the Gorg. O goes in disguise and has a brief makeover montage as well as another Rihanna song playing Only Girl in the World. I'm sure some of you had heard of this song before. But Tip only puts a beauty mark on his face, and this scene puts a smile on my face actually, because he just gets so excited over a little disguise. It's just really cute on how he reacts.
Not no!
Anyway, so they both made it into the floating Eiffel Tower, and inside they finally put in the password, and then stop the invitation from reaching. Now their next mission is to find Tip's mom on where she's located. And what a shock, she's located in Australia like all the other humans were transported to. But as they got out of there, they immediately got captured by the boobs, cause they wanted to arrest O for all of the mistakes he's made. But then they both made an escape by turning the entire Eiffel Tower upside down. So yeah, that happens. But then a short chase sequence happens, but they made it out of there. Now O has a moment of clarity with Tip about how the booths weren't in their right mind while coming to Earth, and they thought about what they know about the Earth and the humans. So he apologizes to her.
Call me Tip.
So now we're in the second act of the movie, and some people say that the first half of the movie didn't really connect with the second half of the movie, which I disagree with. The first half of the movie was about O trying to stop his invitation to the Gorg, and the second half is about Tip continuing her journey to find her mom. So I don't know what you're all seeing between these two acts, and honestly, the second half of the movie is where it picks up for me. O and Tip have a little moment together as they're traveling their way to Australia, and I really like this bit where O is jamming to the music and enjoying it for the first time. It just makes me feel good, and it does put a smile on my face. Anyways, they soon realized that all of the boofs were running away, and it turns out the Gorg has somehow found where the Earth is located, so they attacked them and they crash landed into the forest. But O and Tip found a Gorg drone, and I think that's what it's called, and found a chip that can somehow make the flying car work again. So they try it and they finally make it to Australia, very fast, where they can also see all of the boofs are leaving as well. And during this scene, the song plays in the background is Towards the Sun, also sung by Rihanna again. What's that, like the third song from Rihanna in this movie? Anyways, O wanted to leave as well, so O lies to Tip by telling her mom is on one of the ships. But she can tell because, you know, he turns green when he lies. So they both have a falling out fight and they both separate from the movie. O made it to the chip before it leaves, but the Gorg is already here. So O has the super chip thing and uses it to make the spaceship go faster. So all of the boofs are really impressed by him, and because of that, O is now their new captain of the boof, instead of this dude. So with that, we get another song and a montage this time. The song is playing Feel the Light by Jennifer Lopez, which I forgot to mention that Jennifer Lopez is in this movie, who plays Tip's mother, and who is also a music artist as well. So we get one of her original songs in this movie in this scene, which is honestly a scene that I actually like. I don't know, for the most part with these songs playing in the background of the movie, I don't really mind it, but for this scene in particular, I find it emotional in my opinion. It's just the conflict between these characters throughout the movie that they've grown to become close as friends, and in the montage of them being separated, I guess it just makes me feel bad, but in a good way. So O decides to come back to Tip, and finally promises to find her mom for her. Then the same song plays again, and then Tip finds her mom, finally. Wow, what a happy ending. And this scene also puts a smile on my face too. A lot of things in this movie just put a smile on my face, and I honestly can't help it. This is just a sweet film in general. So now we're in the final act of the movie. Oh wait, Tip finding her mom was not the end of the movie? Oh okay, we're getting more then. And it turns out that this little rock thing that I forgot to mention is apparently the staff that Captain Smek holds throughout the movie was apparently the Gorgs. So O opens the rock and he figures out that this rock was very important to the Gorg. So now their final mission is to give this rock back to him because maybe that's what he's after. So O attempts to give the egg rock back to the Gorg, but the ship is apparently too big that the Gorg can't even see O. But when Tip uses a mirror to use on the Gorg to get his attention, he sees O and he stops the ship. But the ship stops and O gets trapped in a way. So he sacrifices himself. Yeah, that happens. Oh, what a shock, he didn't die. So he's good now. Honestly, this Vekar death was kind of believable in a way when the first time I saw it, but then again, I was like 10 years old when this movie came out, unless you didn't see it coming from a mile away. Anyways, O survives, and the Gorg finally comes out of the ship, and its suit? O finally gives the rock back to him, and it turns out that inside the rock, it's his entire next generation of his family. That's cute. So I guess he had a reason to be mad at the boofs. So yeah, we now get our epilogue and both the humans and the boofs live together in peace. And that's basically how the movie ends. Yeah, it was nice talking about this movie. I think it's not the best DreamWorks movie, but I'll say it's actually one of my favorites. It's not a perfect movie, but it's one that I really enjoy every time I watch it. But for the most part, the story is pretty basic, but the friendship aspect just carries this movie for me. I guess I really like a movie that involves friendship or something, depending on how well it works. But for this movie, it works for me a lot. But also, it kinda sucks that people online said it's one of the most forgettable DreamWorks movies, and one of the worst apparently? Which, come on. I think this movie was attempting to be more lighthearted, and that's one thing I can say about it. It's a lighthearted movie, and it has a decent story that I can follow along with. The characters are all fun and wholesome. Sure, not all of the humor lands, and the pacing feels a bit off, but that's not enough for me to not like this movie. So yeah, after 10 years of this movie's release, I think it still holds up in my opinion. Plus, I sometimes hope that there's a sequel to this movie someday. I know it's probably never gonna happen, but I can dream. And sometimes we all have a movie that we just want to enjoy. So yeah, if you guys have seen this movie, what do you guys think about it? Do you like it, or do you think it's one of DreamWorks' weakest movie? So that's about it. Thanks for watching, subscribe, and I'll see you on whatever video I make next.